What is a not fun fact? Bus seats are designed so that you cannot tell how dirty they really are. There is a whale called 52 Blue that only sings at their frequency, meaning it can't communicate with other whales. It is nicknamed the loneliest whale on the planet. Your intestines will wriggle themselves back into the correct position. Doctors who do any type of intestinal surgery don't have to worry too much about how they put the intestines back in. A certain type of anglerfish reproduce via the male burrowing into the side of the female, eventually fusing. The male life is lost in the process. If you are an identical twin, it is possible that you and your siblings' identities were swapped, and your parents never caught it. Horses can't throw up, so if they eat something bad or get a bad gas bubble, they just lay down and die. The reason you're supposed to contact a doctor if you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours is because prolonged priapism can lead to gangrene of the dick. Blood goes in, deoxygenates, but can't leave, so there's no way for fresh oxygenated blood to come in, causing the tissue to turn black and die. Don't worry, though, this can be treated by using a big syringe to suck the trapped blood out. When you get a sunburn, it's actually your cells dying so they don't get tumorous. There are 8 unaccounted for American nukes, and literally unknown quantity of missing Soviet nukes that range all the way from warheads to suitcase bombs. In the United States, roughly a third of all food is thrown away each year. Valentine's Day is a holiday with one of the highest suicide rates. People who want to live themselves by jumping off a bridge, those who don't die from the impact, drown because the impact breaks enough bones that prevents them from swimming. The FBI estimates there are between 25–50 active serial killers in the US at any given time. If you eat a polar bear liver, you will die. Humans can't handle that much vitamin A. The lemmings are not suicidal, and the documentary What Filmed It was actually showing lemmings getting thrown down a cliff because they needed the scene but couldn't make the animals do it. People with extreme scurvy start to have all of their old wounds open up. Everything with the scar is held together via an active process with collagen and without vitamin C. Just sort of. Stop. Urine was used for teeth whitening and bleaching of clothes in ancient Rome. Yes, they rinsed their mouth with human and animal urine. Live chat support agents can see what you type before you send it, so they can reply quicker. Cute, fuzzy little sea otters are known to repay baby seals to death. In Australia, there is a plant called the gympie which has such a severe sting that horses who brush against it throw themselves off cliffs because they'd rather die than continue to experience the pain. Migraines and strokes carry a lot of the same symptoms, so if you suffer regular migraines, you may not notice you're actually dying one day. A man once had a tapeworm get cancer. That cancer metastasized, and the man died from tumors of tapeworm throughout his entire body. It was once thought for birds, parrots, magpies to learn to talk, you had to release their tongue. This was done by cutting their tongue completely or partly off course without any anesthesia or painkillers. The tongue release plays absolutely no role in the bird's ability to talk. Despite being the largest mammal, blue whales do not have largish holes. They defecate with an anus the size of a grapefruit. During WW1, thousands of dogs were taken from families for the war effort, and when the war was over, most of them were just shot because it was cheaper than feeding them for the trip home and finding their homes. Spider rain, you read that right, is a real and naturally occurring phenomenon. There is a genetic disease called FOP where your muscles and tissue turn to bone, often called human statue disease. Eventually, people may have to decide whether they want to become frozen in a sitting or flat or standing position. People who survive the Holocaust and get Alzheimer's often think they are back in the camps, so they escape one of humanity's greatest horrors, only to die in it 50 years later. You can smell your own lungs. Your brain just filters out the smell. Some perfumes, or more specifically, musks you use, come from the anal and secretion glands of musk deers and civet cats. The search and rescue dogs on 9/11s were getting so sad from finding only dead bodies. The human helpers buried themselves in the rubble so that the dogs could find them and be happy. Bed bugs procreate by traumatic insemination. Males literally stab females with their genitals. So, just another reason to hate them then. Climbing Mount Everest has a 6.5% mortality rate. What's more harrowing is that if you die, you will most likely be left there. There's currently over 200 bodies on Everest that are irretrievable, and now serve as markers for other climbers. Not a bad place to eternally rest, but upsetting for those left behind who can't give you a proper burial. Climbing K2, the second tallest mountain in the world, has a fatality rate of 29%. Annapurna, the 10th tallest mountain in the world, has a fatality rate of 32%. If a hamster gets distressed, it will eat its kids. Rabies is terrifying. You can get it and not even know it from bats, which live across the globe. It might hit you right away. It might be in 3 years. But it doesn't matter, because once symptoms set in, you're already dead. Himalayan blackberries can allegedly grow under your skin. Either that or the mountain climbers picking them were just high. There is a non-zero maximum threshold for the amount of cockroach that can be present in ground coffee, because it is literally impossible to keep them out entirely. The threat of a deadly bird flu spreading to humans is always there. It takes just a little bit of negligence in screening chickens for this to happen. Oftentimes when pandas have cubs, if they have more than one, they will choose which one to keep and abandon the other because she can't care for two. Grizzlies are the opposite. If they have a litter of just one, sometimes they'll abandon it and try to mate again the next year to try for a litter of multiple cubs. During the Seoul Olympics 1988, a large amount of doves were released into the stadium. When the giant brazier was lit, many of the released doves were sitting in it, resulted in many doves being burned alive. Certain sleep disorders that cause you to act out your dreams are strong predictors that you're developing a neurodegenerative disorder like Parkinson's or Lewy body dementia. The reason dogs love squeaky toys is because they sound like small animals dying. Most power outages in the US are caused by squirrels. The little girl who voiced Ducky in the first Land Before Time was murdered by her father before the movie came out. Her gravestone says, "Yep, yep, yep." The #1 cause of death among pregnant women is murder. Male dolphins like to hunt fertile female in groups and hound them because they are unwilling. The females are often injured during this, some even die. A blue-ringed octopus, found in the Pacific, is a tiny and cute little guy, but one painless bite gives enough venom to kill 25 male adults. In countries that require you to opt into organ donation, fewer than 15% of people register. In the US, an opt-in country, 18 people die every day waiting for an organ transplant. Opt-out countries see over 90% of their population registered for organ donation. The image that most people have of blobfish is based on a misconception. People think that's what they look like all the time, but blobfish adapted to live in deep waters, which means the deeper you go, the more water pressure there is. Their bodies are not meaty like fish, but more gelatinous, because they adapted to the water pressure. If you accidentally pull them to higher levels, but with less water pressure, their bodies don't handle it well. There's nothing keeping their bodies intact, so their bodies explode. Basically, every photo you've seen of a blobfish where they look big and pink, and of course, blobby is a photo of a dead blobfish. Merchandise and cartoons designed after what they look like dead. Hell, they're referred to as what they look like dead. The youngest person to ever give birth to a baby was a 5-year-old little girl.